My Love of Life Energy is a podcast created by Anna Scott. Anna knows that every human being sees life uniquely. In this podcast, she will talk to people and learn from them. These conversations are to shine the brilliance of each human being she speaks to. Join her. After each exploration, you will expand on your insights and see truth and beauty.
All right, we're there. I always start, and when I'm starting to talk to somebody in my podcast, I always start laughing because I feel all the love that I have for people. And today I'm having the honor of talking with Paul Murk. And Paul and I both were graduates, or we both were apprentices with Michael Neal. And we were in a class together. And over the years, we've just developed a deep, fond friendship. I think that's how I would say it. Is that true for you?
That definitely fits for me.
And, Paul, one of the things that I'm curious about is what had you apprentice with Michael? Why did you do that? Michael Neal, for the listeners, if you're listening, Michael Neal is in the Three Principles worlds, has done more for the Three Principles and bringing it out. And he's an amazing coach and mentor.
Yeah. What had me do that? I'd say that a lot of it was instinct. Anna. I don't have an elegant set of facts and observations that support my choice to do that. The more time I spent with Michael, the more I was appreciating what he saw and how he communicated it. And I just had a sense that doing that with him would be a rich experience. And so I said, hey, let's talk about this. And we did. And ultimately, post that conversation, it was very easy to just make the decision to say yes.
And so, Paul, what did you see from that period of time, and what are you continuing to see?
I want to be careful not to make something up right now. I'd like to try to hear what's really true, Anna. I really, part of it is I saw that Michael's work was introducing a lot of people to a basic truth that's resident in everyone and available to everyone, but not everyone gets a chance to get access to it. And I never had the thought that I would work with Michael to become a mini Michael. That doesn't make any sense to me at all, but I just had the notion that my sense of him is that he's for people, and that he's not looking to create carbon copies, but and once again, it's just I responded to my sense of him as a human being, and I was watching what he was doing in the world, and said, yeah, that me doing my version of what Michael's accomplishing is something that's really of value to me, and it'll look very different. I don't have any aspirations to necessarily, get the kind of profile that has developed for Michael in the world, but I'm looking to move forward the impact.
What's so interesting is you're a financial planner, and so I mean, it's radical that you would take a leap into this world where that wasn't your bread and butter. And I'm curious, how has it impacted how you work with your clients?
Well, I guess what I'd say, Anna, is that it wasn't and it was my bread and butter, in that I think that I have, there are different degrees of something deeper than money that shows up in an advisor's relationship with clients when it's available to show up, when the advisor's inclined and in contact with what's there, and when the client's interested and drawn to that. And so even in the cases, I have clients, it's kind of all over the map. I have clients where it's really pretty much we're just working on the money stuff. And then clients where there's a lot of conversation going on about what's deeper, what's underneath, what's about life. And so my foray into more and more looking at, kind of how it works being human and what's going on, that's been on for quite a long time, and it's all been motivated. Actually, there's a psychologist named Ted Klontz who has created, I sense that it's a fairly good part of his practice. I don't know what percentage it is, but he does work with financial advisors. And I remember one time I was at a conference, and Ted, who I just really like Ted a lot, when Ted was talking at this conference, and he made a statement that I can still hear. And that is, there are no problem clients. There are only advisors that have run out of solutions. And so I don't know to what extent Ted was pointing to inner world solutions. I'm sure his statement included outer world stuff, but I think he also was pointing at the inner. And that just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I thought, yeah, if I really want to add value, I'm going to develop my perspective there. And, as it turns out, this far down the road, it's very clear to me that it's not about what any of us knows. It's about who we are. It's about how we show up in an exchange with another that makes all the difference. And that's true for a coach with a client, or a financial advisor with a client, or a friend with a friend, or a partner with a partner. It doesn't matter, a parent with a child. There's stuff in the world that matters. Like, to your son, hey, son, clean your room. That's in the physical world and it matters. But what goes between that father and son on a level underneath that, in terms of who the father's being, that's a very powerful teacher for that child.
You're reading something in the way that I think this is what you're saying. One is, I see when you talk, like we could, I see a fishing pole, and what you're doing with your clients is you're dropping your pole all the way to the ground. Like the hook goes all the way to the depth of who they are as a human being, not just on the surface.
Well, it's available to,
yeah.
Because the truth is that I built my current business, before I saw things the way that I see them now. And so I have a range of people that I support, some of whom really see me as just a numbers and money person, and others of whom I love that Paul does that, but I think what's more powerful between us is the conversation. And there's a range there, and so the truth is I'm ready to drop the hook all the way down for anybody that wants to, but it's not with everybody.
Yeah, I know, but your capacity to do that, because I've been with you, I know that. The other part that you're talking about that I love is you're talking about, you said, who you show up as. And I think about it's the energy that I bring to a person.
Yeah.
Like that's my language.
Yeah, and I might actually say it is who you don't show up as. because really what's true is inside all of us is something that's authentic and real and what matters. And we often bring stuff that sort of covers that up. And so the better we are at getting out of the way of that, I think the clearer and cleaner our presence is, and the more of an invitation, it becomes for the other to see what's in them that they maybe haven't seen yet. So
you just said something, and I don't think most people, like if somebody was listening to this podcast besides me and you,
they might think this guy has done far too many drugs or something.
Yeah, but what's the thing that I want you, because you talk about it when we're together, you talk about it so clearly, this thing that's inside of people, and you see it so clearly, and what gets in the way, and what is that to you?
Yeah. It's very sort of amorphous to me. I mean, what it is actually in part is a silence and a quiet and an emptiness that's resident in all of us. And when we can drop into that place, then there's also wisdom that we have access to, and that may partly be in us, but I think it's bigger than us, you know. And so I think I'm losing your question, Anna. Like, what?
Well, no, I just think you answered it beautifully in a way that actually, you know, it's like when you hear something, you know, you've heard it, but you haven't really heard it, or you're hearing it deeper.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know, I was asking, like, what's this thing in us? And what you pointed to, it's the silence, the quiet, the emptiness. And
Yeah, it's a weirdly full emptiness.
Yeah.
So sorry. Yeah.
No, it's and it's funny, when I touch it, I start laughing hysterically because I feel it, and it's profound.
Yeah. Yes.
And what you're saying is that everybody has this.
Absolutely. I think that's the most important thing that, you know, speaking as a coach, I think that's maybe, you know, for the moment, I'm going to argue that that's the most important thing that we can know. That's true of anyone we're in contact with.
So, Paul, you just helped me as a coach, because I see what you're doing is because I get to experience you. I mean, we take Paul, you know, red alert or disclosure, Paul and I hike weekly together. And I've gotten to be in your presence, and I see what I think, not that it's not a tip or technique. You know, the namaste, the God in me sees the God in you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you feel into your own silence and quiet space, which then invites the other person to feel into theirs.
Yeah, and I don't think it's something that I do because I'm wise or skilled or, you know, any of that. I don't think there's anything to own here as special. What has happened for me is that I've been blessed with experiences that have shown me what it feels like when I get out of the way, what happens when I get out of the way, because that you just described happens when we get out of the way, you know. And so it's like I don't ever go into a conversation with like this deep, serious intent to, you know, like I'm, you know, it's really, I just want to be in the conversation. And yeah, I think when we do that from a place of, you know, when I'm not sitting on my side of the conversation thinking, well, yeah, I'm like that this way, or yeah, I had that experience, or, oh, here's what she means, or here's what's going on with her, or like if I can just be with you in the exchange and hear what comes up quietly from me, not from my personal thinking, you know, not from my making things up.
Is that what is that what your get out of the way is? When you say
it's kind of almost like a do nothing thing, you know. It's like do no harm in a way. You know, it's like I'm just, you know, and what I think the way that it came in for me initially is I just love talking to people. I love hearing what's going on with them. And so, you know, as it occurred to me based on input from so many people that have given me gifts, you know, their commentary would bring awareness. Those, you know, it just occurred to me that, you know, the less of me that there can be in a conversation with me, the more of you get to see, you know, and And that's really what I want in an exchange with another, because I'm so convinced that we all have this majestic, state resident in us. And, I mean, if I could spend the rest of my life just very, gently and easily and maybe lightly, you know, helping people to catch that about themselves, I can't imagine anything better.
You one time said to me, and I can feel it right now. You said, "This is the reason I love this. This is the best feeling ever."
Yeah. And it's funny because it's quiet, right? It's like there was a time in my life when I would have called a fast-paced, adrenalized, super sort of jaggy fun experience as like the peak. That's not so. I mean, there's nothing wrong with those, and I'll engage in that at times now, but I wouldn't want a steady diet of it. What's better in my mind is much more quiet and still than that.
It's almost like you didn't know, like I didn't know this existed.
No, and didn't know that it was already there in you. That it was already there in me. Didn't have any idea. And that's the thing that's so, to me, so wonderful about an exchange with another human who's interested, because it's there. It's not like you have to give them a download and install something that they don't already have. All you're doing, it's like it's so much fun. It's sort of like, someone has a huge stack of cash in their dresser drawer and they don't know it. And if you can help them open the drawer and move the t-shirts and see it and find the cash, how good is that for everybody?
I have a client who says to me, she goes, it's really this simple, isn't it? Like she always jokes about it. The thing that I like, as we're sitting here talking, I can feel myself dropping into this space more and more with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, because I know you do it too. What's your experience, or what are you noticing as you continually drop into this space?
Well, I feel kind of quiet. Things will come in, and they don't feel like they're of my, thinking necessarily. Something you said just a moment ago referenced some state of being. I don't know. I don't remember what it was. I wish I should jot it down. But one of the things that I think is really exciting is that I think this continues to deepen. As long as we're drawing breath, as long as we're in the game of being human, I'm guessing, I don't know how, does it get so quiet and so empty that we disappear? I don't think so, but it does feel as though, and maybe it's more a matter of you spend more and more time in that place and less time in the adrenalized busy place. Because, it's both, right? The people that I know that seem to be the most in contact with the truth of, kind of who they are and how life works from the perspective that we're kind of talking from, are not there all the time. And they say that they're not there all the time. They own that. But my sense about it is probably more and more time, less and less time in a busy-minded state, less and less time feeling there's something wrong, like I'm having the wrong experience. and much faster movement out of that, mostly, when they catch it.
What's interesting is it's like, I don't know, I see you drinking coffee or tea or water or something. And like, I used to be a Diet Coke addict,
Mhm.
and I thought it was normal just to drink that. And
Mhm.
I've lost my taste for it. It's so bad now. And I mean, I'm not dissing anybody, but just my taste
Yeah,
for it,
yeah, sure.
it's so different that I can't tolerate it. And for me, what I'm beginning to notice is I don't have a tolerance for all the noise. Like I
Yeah.
catch it sooner and sooner. And it's like walking into a house that's a hoarder's house. Again, like no judgment.
Mhm.
Like that's what it used to be in my mind. It'd be so crowded.
Yeah.
And now it's like walking into a Zen space and I get used to it and I begin to notice the accumulation of like when there's too much thinking or it begins to get crowded.
Yeah.
Like I just don't have a tolerance for it anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe the first gift that comes to us in that is if we're sort of in motion on it, is just the awareness that, oh man, I'm really busy right now,
Yeah.
or oh man, I feel kind of down and crummy, and I know that I'm engaged. I'm engaged in that, where that feeling's coming from. Like I'm doing an interpretation, making an interpretation that is
You
driving that.
just said something, and I want to thank you. And I get to do it publicly, even if it's just you and I, and you're the only ones here. Last Friday, when I called you and I was spinning out because of my solar and everything, and you said to me, you said, Anna, it's like I could notice that I was ungrounded, and you just said, wow, you're just telling me the state of the weather. Like it's not important. And there was something in that that instantly grounded me. And I came home like I hadn't been able to do anything. Like I just was like a ping pong ball or a pinball. And after I saw that, I came home and I worked because I just realized I was making it mean my statement something. I don't know why. It's like, it's so funny how you hear things and all of a sudden you really get it. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's just my state.
Yeah, and it will change.
Yeah.
It will change.
And
Yeah,
it did.
yeah, yeah. Well, I love what I see fairly consistently is, I mean, even if there's a level of delusion in in interpreting things that way, I don't think there is, but even if there is, it does result, at least in my experience, in being more resourced, you know, with that awareness than without it. And so then you're going to be more effective and you're going to feel better.
And what I just saw from this conversation right now, Paul,
Mm-hmm.
is I see the natural flow of the energy, but what was keeping it going was my judgment and my story of it. Like there was nothing wrong that I was ungrounded.
Yeah.
But what was keeping me further ungrounded is I made a story about being ungrounded.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen that till right now because the nature of energy is just, it flows.
That's, yeah, what I heard just now as you were talking was like struggling with the river,
Mhm.
struggling against the river. That water's in motion and going to be in motion. And it's powerful. And we can either flow with it, and if we really know what's happening there, we can get in the current and keep ourselves in that current, or we can really fight it. You're in a strong river, you can try to swim upriver all day long, you're just going to end up exhausted and downriver. So
God, that's beautiful. Wow. All right, Paul, we're coming to the end. Is there anything else you want to share?
Nothing that occurs to me in the moment. Yeah.
I just am so grateful. I hope one person My wish is that this podcast touches one person and they feel the quiet that you offer and they find it inside themselves.
Oh, I like that thought.
That's
It's like,
wouldn't it be wonderful?
yeah, and I think I'll piggyback on that. And what's coming to me is, I would love it if anyone who hears this or something like it can just awaken to the fact that there's something in them that's whole and healthy and real. And yeah, and that the world that they're living in is largely shaped by the stories they tell themselves about what's happened and what's happening. And there's so much possibility in that.
Yeah. And Sid Banks said, when we fall out of our thinking, I don't know that he does. Dickens says this, Dickon Bettender says, when we fall out of our thinking, we fall into this open, beautiful space.
Yeah. That's the best place I know.
Yeah. You embody it beautifully.
Oh, thanks, Anna.
I feel it deeply every time. Like we sit down and talk, I can feel it just deepen. So
It's the most fun I know to have.
I know it really is
one of the most fun things I know. So,
Right.
All right, Anna.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun.